The bustling city streets were alive with the sounds of honking cars and chatter, creating a symphony of urban life that blended seamlessly into the backdrop of Lauren's daily routine at the upscale cafe. As she maneuvered through the throng of customers, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked pastries enveloped her, offering a familiar comfort. This was her world, a blend of ordinary interactions and fleeting moments of warmth shared over steaming mugs. However, little did she know that today would shatter the mundane rhythm of her life. Wiping down the counter, Lauren caught a glimpse of her reflection in the polished surface. Her dark curls framed her face, accentuating her striking features, and her bright smile was a constant source of joy for the regulars who frequented the cafe. But today, something felt different. A subtle tension hung in the air, an undercurrent that tugged at her instincts. She glanced up just as the door swung open, and in walked a figure who would forever alter the course of her life. Maxim Koval entered the cafe like a storm. His presence commanded attention, the kind that made heads turn and conversations hush. Dressed impeccably in a tailored charcoal suit, he exuded an air of confidence and power that was impossible to ignore. The light caught his dark hair, and for a moment, everything around him faded into the background. Lauren felt an inexplicable pull toward him, a magnetic force that sent a shiver down her spine. In that instant, she was captivated, her heartbeat quickening as their eyes locked. There was something in his gaze, a smoldering intensity that both thrilled and terrified her. As she stood frozen, the noise of the cafe faded into a distant hum, leaving only the electric connection between them. This was not just a passing glance. It felt like the beginning of something monumental. But Lauren quickly reminded herself of her responsibilities. She was here to serve coffee, not to get swept away by the allure of a stranger. Maxim approached the counter, his steps deliberate and confident. He offered her a small, enigmatic smile, and Lauren found herself unable to look away. "A coffee, please," he said, his voice smooth and deep, carrying an accent that hinted at his Eastern European roots. She nodded, her hands trembling slightly as she prepared his order. Their brief exchange felt charged, like a tightly coiled spring ready to snap. As she handed him the cup, their fingers brushed against each other. The contact sent a jolt of electricity through her, a sensation that was both exhilarating and unnerving. Maxim's eyes sparkled with mischief, as if he was privy to secrets she couldn't even fathom. "You have a unique energy," he remarked, his smile widening. Lauren felt a flush creep across her cheeks, caught off guard by the compliment. "Thank you," she managed to respond, trying to maintain her composure. He took a sip of his coffee, his gaze never leaving hers. "You know, I usually prefer my coffee in a quiet place far from the chaos," he mused, the hint of a challenge lingering in his tone. Lauren swallowed hard, her mind racing. What did he mean by that? Before she could ponder further, another customer called her name, snapping her back to reality. But as she turned away to attend to their needs, she could feel Maxim's eyes still on her, an invisible weight that lingered in the air. She tried to shake off the feeling, focusing on her tasks. The cafe buzzed with activity as Lauren moved from table to table, taking orders and chatting with patrons. Yet, her thoughts kept drifting back to the enigmatic man who had entered her life so unexpectedly. What brought him to her cafe? Who was he really? Questions swirled in her mind, but she pushed them aside. She was just a waitress, after all, and he was something else entirely, a figure draped in mystery. As the hours passed, Lauren caught glimpses of Maxim from time to time, seated at his usual table, his demeanor shifting from the charming stranger to a more contemplative presence. He seemed to relish the solitude, occasionally stealing glances at the cafe's bustling atmosphere. Each time their eyes met, a spark ignited in the air, leaving her breathless and yearning for more. What had begun as a mere transaction had evolved into something far more intricate and tangled. Before she knew it, her shift was ending. As she wiped down the counter one last time, she felt a pang of disappointment wash over her. Would she ever see him again? Just as she was about to leave, Maxim stood up, walking toward her with a purposeful stride. There was a glimmer of determination in his eyes, and her heart raced with anticipation. "I'll be back tomorrow," he said, his tone suggesting it was more a promise than a statement. You'd better be ready for a real conversation." With that, he turned on his heel and strode out of the cafe, leaving Lauren standing behind the counter, a mix of excitement and trepidation swirling within her. This was just the beginning, and a part of her felt both exhilarated and terrified by the prospect of what lay ahead. As she locked the cafe doors, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the cusp of something extraordinary. Was she ready to step into the unknown? Only time would tell. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. As Lauren continued to serve customers, she couldn't shake the feeling that Maxim was watching her. The cafe buzzed with life, filled with laughter and chatter, yet her mind was elsewhere, preoccupied with the mysterious man who had entered just hours before. Each glance she stole in his direction revealed a flicker of intrigue in his dark eyes, a complexity that both fascinated and unnerved her. It was as if he could see right through her, peeling back her layers with the intensity of his gaze. When their eyes met again, the world around her faded. In that moment, she was acutely aware of the warmth in his expression, a contrast to the cool demeanor he wore. Maxim seemed to have an unspoken understanding of her, as if he could read her thoughts before she even voiced them. Lauren took a deep breath, trying to dismiss the rush of emotions coursing through her. "Get a grip," she whispered to herself, forcing her focus back on the orders piling up at the counter. She attempted to engage in small talk with the other patrons, but her thoughts kept drifting back to him. What was a man like Maxim Koval doing in her cafe? The swirling questions made it hard to concentrate, but she pressed on, determined to maintain her professionalism. After all, she wasn't some starry-eyed girl swept away by charm. She was a hard-working waitress with a life to manage. Then, as if sensing her struggle, Maxim rose from his table and approached the counter. His movements were purposeful, and she found herself holding her breath as he drew closer. "What brings you here?" she asked, trying to sound casual while her heart raced. Her voice barely wavered, but inside she was anything but composed. "Just looking for something different," he replied, a hint of mischief dancing in his tone. The way he looked at her, with those intense dark eyes, made Lauren's pulse quicken. There was a danger lurking beneath his words, something tantalizing yet foreboding. She felt the weight of his presence, and it ignited something inside her, curiosity, excitement, and a hint of fear. Maxim leaned on the counter, his body language radiating confidence. "You have a unique energy," he remarked, his smile disarming and yet somehow predatory. His compliment sent a wave of warmth through her cheeks, and she tried to mask her surprise with a playful smirk. "I don't know about unique, but thanks," she replied, feeling the flush deepen. The conversation felt charged with an unspoken connection, a magnetic pull that Lauren couldn't quite comprehend. She wanted to probe deeper, to understand the man behind the enigmatic exterior, but a nagging thought lingered in the back of her mind. He was a stranger, and she didn't know the first thing about him. What if he was dangerous? Yet the allure was undeniable. There was something compelling about him that made it hard to resist. As he took a sip of his coffee, his gaze never wavered from her. "You know, I usually prefer my coffee in a quiet place far from the chaos," he mused, his tone hinting at something more than just a casual remark. Lauren's heart pounded in her chest. What did he mean by that? Her mind raced with possibilities, and she fought the urge to dig deeper into his past. Before she could respond, another customer called her name, pulling her away from the moment. She turned to attend to them, but the feeling of Maxim's eyes on her was like an invisible thread, drawing her in and holding her captive. The cafe felt alive with energy, yet she felt isolated in her whirlwind of thoughts. Returning to the hustle of the cafe, Lauren poured drinks and collected plates, her mind wandering between the mundane tasks and the captivating figure who had entered her life so unexpectedly. Each time she glanced at Maxim, his eyes met hers, and the connection felt deeper, more intense. She couldn't afford to get lost in daydreams over a man who was likely far more than he seemed. As the hours passed, Lauren's curiosity about him transformed into a strange kind of longing. She served countless customers, but her thoughts remained firmly fixed on the Russian man who looked like he belonged in a world far removed from hers. Who was he really? What secrets did he carry beneath his charming exterior? With each passing moment, the questions grew more pressing. The cafe was winding down for the evening when Maxim stood up from his usual spot. He walked toward her with purpose, and Lauren felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "I'll be back tomorrow," he announced, his tone both casual and determined. "You'd better be ready for a real conversation." With that, he turned and walked out of the cafe, leaving Lauren standing behind the counter, her heart racing and thoughts swirling. A part of her wanted to call after him, to ask him to stay just a little longer, but she remained rooted, caught in the moment. What had begun as a simple exchange had morphed into a tangled web of emotions, and she hardly knew how to navigate it. As she locked up the cafe for the night, she couldn't shake the feeling that she stood on the brink of something significant. She was certainly not prepared for what might come next, yet deep inside, a flicker of excitement ignited her spirit. This was just the beginning of a new chapter, and she felt both eager and apprehensive about stepping into the unknown. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Days passed, and each visit by Maxim Koval heightened the tension that crackled between him and Lauren. With every cup of coffee he ordered, her heart raced a little faster, and she found herself drawn deeper into the enigma that was his life. The cafe, once a mundane backdrop to her daily grind, transformed into a stage where their unspoken connection played out. Lauren learned snippets about him from their casual conversations, each revelation tinged with intrigue. His charm was undeniable, but it was the whispers of danger that surrounded him that kept her on edge, both fascinated and apprehensive. The late afternoon sun poured through the large cafe windows, casting a warm glow over the polished countertops. Lauren wiped down the surfaces, her mind drifting to thoughts of Maxim. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was much more to him than meets the eye. He was powerful, commanding respect and fear in equal measure, yet he took the time to engage with her as if she were the only one that mattered. It was a contradiction that both thrilled and terrified her. One seemingly ordinary evening, the cafe was unusually quiet, the hum of conversation replaced by the soft clinking of cups. As she prepared a fresh batch of pastries, she felt the familiar pull of his presence. Turning, she caught sight of Maxim leaning against the wall, his dark eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "You look lost in thought," he remarked, the corners of his lips curling into a playful smile. Lauren forced herself to return to her task, taking a moment to steady her breath. "Just trying to figure out how to make the perfect croissant," she replied, injecting a lightness into her voice. She knew that was far from the truth. Her thoughts were consumed by him. Maxim stepped closer, his voice dropping to a low, conspiratorial tone. "I think you already have the perfect ingredient, your passion." There was something about the way he said that, with such sincerity, that made her heart flutter. She had to look away, pretending to busy herself with the pastries, trying to ignore the warmth spreading through her cheeks. Their eyes met once more, and in that shared gaze, something shifted. A tension sparked, simmering just below the surface. "You have no idea who I am, do you?" he asked suddenly, his face serious now. The thrill of his words sent shivers down her spine. Lauren felt a mix of fear and attraction, her instincts warning her, but her heart urged her to lean in. "I know enough," she said, trying to infuse confidence into her words, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. Maxim chuckled softly, the sound deep and rich, like a fine whiskey. "Do you really? I could tell you stories that would chill you to the bone." "Maybe I like a good thrill," Lauren shot back, her curiosity piqued. She was drawn to him, and a part of her craved to explore this dangerous connection. The idea of peeling back the layers of his life was intoxicating, but another part of her knew the risks involved. He leaned in, closing the distance between them. "And what if I told you that my world is far more exciting and perilous than you can imagine?" His tone carried a weight that felt heavy with implications. Lauren's heart raced as she tried to gauge the sincerity behind his playful demeanor. "Exciting or dangerous?" she countered, her brow raised in challenge. "Perhaps a bit of both," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "But I promise you, it's a world where you'd want to tread carefully." The mixture of allure and caution hung in the air between them. Lauren felt the thrill surge within her, but with it, a sense of foreboding. She had always been a woman who valued her independence and safety above all else. Yet, with him, everything felt different, as if she were teetering on the edge of something monumental. Just then, the door chime rang, and a group of customers entered, breaking the moment. Lauren instinctively turned to serve them, but the lingering sensation of Maxim's intense gaze stayed with her. As she moved about, serving coffee and pastries, her mind fixated on the enigmatic man with the magnetic presence. In the days that followed, the cafe became her sanctuary, but it also morphed into a battlefield of emotions as Maxim continued to appear, his visits blurring the lines between reality and desire. Each time he walked through that door, a thrill ran through her, and she felt a pull toward a world that was both enticing and terrifying. She had her routine, her life, and yet this man, this Russian Bratva boss, was a storm brewing on the horizon. That night, as the cafe emptied and the last of the customers drifted away, Lauren found herself restless. She glanced toward the door, half expecting Maxim to appear. Would he come back? With each tick of the clock, her anticipation grew, a longing that gnawed at her insides. The uncertainty wrapped around her like a shroud, leaving her torn between the safety of her ordinary life and the thrill of stepping into the unknown. Moments later, as if summoned by her thoughts, Maxim strode into the cafe, his presence commanding attention. He walked straight over to her, the energy between them palpable. "Ready for that real conversation?" he asked, a mischievous glint in his eye. "If you think you can handle it," she replied, her heart racing with exhilaration. "Challenge accepted," he smirked, and in that moment, she knew that whatever lay ahead was going to change everything. If you're enjoying this ride, don't forget to subscribe, there's so much more to come. The evening air was thick with anticipation as Lauren prepared to close the cafe. She carefully wiped down the counters, her thoughts still swirling from the electric energy that had always accompanied Maxim's presence. Just as she was about to turn off the lights, a group of rough-looking men entered, their laughter echoing hollowly within the empty cafe. A shiver ran down her spine as she noticed their predatory stares. "Hey, sweetheart, got any special treats for us?" one of them sneered, making his way to the counter. His tone dripped with an arrogance that made her skin crawl. Lauren forced a smile, her heart racing as she assessed the situation. She could feel the tension building, a storm brewing right in front of her. "Just the usual," she replied, keeping her voice steady while her mind raced. She could feel their eyes roving over her, their intentions clear. Less than a minute passed when the door swung open behind her, and there stood Maxim Koval, his presence commanding and fierce. "Get away from her," he ordered, his voice low and dangerous. The atmosphere shifted almost immediately. The men's bravado faltered under the weight of Maxim's icy glare. Lauren could hardly believe that he had come in just in time, his protective nature sparking a mix of gratitude and anxiety within her. "Who do you think you are?" one of the men shot back, taking a step closer to Maxim, who merely squared his shoulders. The sight of him made Lauren feel both safe and terrified. "I'm the one who's going to make you regret crossing paths with her," Maxim replied, his voice dripping with authority. It was a statement, not a threat. The men hesitated, their bravado waning as they understood the power standing before them. "You don't scare us," another man spat, but his voice lacked conviction. In that moment, Lauren realized how much Maxim was willing to risk for her. "Maybe not, but you should be." The tension in the cafe was palpable, and Lauren could feel herself holding her breath. The exchange seemed to stretch on, each moment heavy with unspoken words. Maxim's fierce protection brought her both comfort and dread. She was tangled up in a dangerous game, and she was only beginning to understand the rules. Before she could process what was happening, Maxim moved with a swiftness that took her breath away. He stepped between her and the group of men, placing himself like a shield before her. "Stay behind me," he commanded, and for the first time, she glimpsed the ruthless side of him that lay just beneath the surface. The confrontation escalated quickly. Maxim's tone shifted from calm to commanding as he stepped closer to the men, his imposing figure towering over them. "Leave now, or I will make you wish you hadn't come here." His voice was low and menacing, and just as Lauren thought the situation might turn lethal, the group retreated, throwing one last look of incredulity mixed with fear at Maxim. They backed away, their bravado evaporating as they exited the cafe, leaving behind a heavy silence. As the door swung shut behind them, Lauren felt a wave of relief wash over her, followed quickly by an adrenaline rush. She was shaken, but she was also overwhelmed by a rush of gratitude toward Maxim. "Thank you," she said breathlessly, her heart still pounding. Maxim turned to her, his expression softening. "Are you okay?" He reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, and the tenderness in his gesture left her momentarily speechless. "Yeah, I was just surprised. I didn't know what to do," she admitted, her thoughts still racing. The reality of what had just unfolded began to settle into her consciousness. "That's exactly why I'm here," he replied, his voice now a soothing balm to her rattled nerves. "You shouldn't have to face that alone." Lauren's heart raced not only from the confrontation, but also from the warmth radiating from his presence. This was a side of him she hadn't fully seen before, protective, fierce, and oddly vulnerable. "What happened tonight changed everything," she whispered, her voice tinged with both fear and exhilaration. She could feel the tension crackling between them, a mix of adrenaline and something deeper. The moment hung in the air, charged with unspoken emotions. "I know," he replied, stepping closer, his gaze intent on hers. "You have no idea how much I care about your safety. This world, it can be cruel. I never asked for any of this," she confessed, her heart pounding against her ribs. Maxim's presence was intoxicating, but the dangers that surrounded him haunted her thoughts. "You don't have to. I'll protect you," he said firmly, and within that statement, Lauren felt a sense of safety mixed with an overwhelming sense of danger. There was a commitment in his words that made her heart flutter, but a warning bell chimed in the depths of her mind. "You have to understand, Maxim, this isn't just a game for me," she began, but he silenced her with a raised hand and a piercing look. "I'm not playing games, Lauren. I might be a part of a world you don't fully understand, but I would never treat you like that." His words struck her like a lightning bolt, igniting a flame of understanding between them. There was a depth to his character, a shadowed past that spoke volumes. In that moment, she saw a man burdened with the weight of his choices, yet motivated by a desire to protect her. If you're enjoying this intense journey, don't forget to subscribe. There's so much more thrilling storytelling ahead. Still caught in the whirlwind of emotions swirling around them, Lauren knew one thing for certain. The boundaries of her life had shifted irreversibly, and she was on the brink of stepping into a world that promised both danger and desire. Days turned into a blur as Lauren grappled with the chaos that had erupted in her life. The night of the confrontation had left an indelible mark on her heart, an exhilarating cocktail of fear and exhilaration brewed inside her. Maxim's presence was like a double-edged sword, cutting through the monotony of her daily routine and plunging her into a world far more dangerous than she had ever imagined. The cafe, once a place of comfort, now felt suffocating, filled with memories of their last encounter. Every time the door swung open, her heart raced, hoping it would be him. And when he finally walked in, a mix of relief and anxiety washed over her. He seemed different this time, more serious, as if the weight of his world was pressing down on his shoulders. Lauren noticed how his jaw clenched and his brows furrowed, a shadow clouding his usually charming demeanor. "Maxim," she greeted, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. "Are you okay?" He gave her a curt nod, but his eyes conveyed a storm of emotion, concern, determination, and something deeper that sent shivers down her spine. "We need to talk, Lauren." "It's about the other night." His voice was low, charged with urgency. With a sense of foreboding hanging in the air, Lauren wiped her hands on her apron and led him to a secluded corner of the cafe. "What's going on?" she asked, her heart pounding. Maxim leaned closer, his intensity almost palpable. "There's a gang that's been watching you. They think you're connected to me, and they don't take kindly to anyone who crosses their path." The blood drained from Lauren's face as she processed his words. "What do you mean? Why would they think that?" He sighed heavily, raking a hand through his hair, revealing a vulnerability she hadn't seen before. "Because of who I am. My world isn't safe, and now that you're a part of it," he trailed off, his gaze piercing hers. I can't protect you from a distance. You need to understand the gravity of this. I didn't ask for any of this, Maxim, she shot back, frustration and fear twisting inside her. I was just trying to live my life. I know, and I'm sorry, he said, his voice softening. But you're in danger now. I've tried to keep you away from this world, but it doesn't work that way. Lauren felt her insides twist. The thrill of their connection was being overshadowed by the reality of her situation. What do you want me to do? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She could feel the tension between them building, a mix of fear and desire that made her pulse race. Maxim took a step closer, his proximity igniting a whirlwind of emotions within her. I want you to trust me. Let me protect you, but you need to be aware of what it means to be with someone like me, he implored, his eyes fierce yet vulnerable. Trust you, she repeated, incredulous. You're asking me to dive into a world I know nothing about. What if I can't handle it? The idea of stepping into the unknown terrified her, yet a part of her burned with curiosity. You're stronger than you think, Lauren. I see that in you. I wouldn't ask if I didn't believe it, he replied, his voice steady. Why do you even care? She challenged, needing to understand his motivation. You could easily walk away and leave me out of this. His expression shifted, revealing a flicker of frustration. Because I don't want to lose you. It's not just about the danger, it's about you. I care about you, and that complicates things. Lauren's heart raced at his admission. The weight of his words settled between them, creating an undeniable bond that was both thrilling and terrifying. I never wanted to become a part of your world, she admitted, her voice trembling. But now I can't seem to walk away. Neither can I, he murmured, stepping even closer. Their breaths mingled in the small space between them, a heady mix of danger and attraction. The air crackled with tension as Lauren's resolve wavered. Before she could respond, Maxim took a deep breath, his expression turning serious. We have to get you somewhere safe. Can you trust me enough to do that? What do you mean? She asked, confusion swirling in her mind. I have a place, a safe house. It's not far from here, and I want you to stay there until this blows over. You'll be away from prying eyes and the threat of the gang. The urgency in his voice was palpable, and Lauren felt a rush of adrenaline. Okay, I'll do it, she finally said, surprising herself. But I need to know what I'm getting into. You have to promise to explain everything. Maxim nodded, a flicker of relief washing over his features. I promise, but right now we need to move, he said, taking her hand in his grip firm yet reassuring. It's not safe here. As they stepped out of the cafe, Lauren felt a whirlwind of emotions, fear for her safety, excitement about the unknown, and an unshakable attraction to Maxim. She was diving headfirst into a world that promised danger and passion. If you're captivated by this tale, don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures. Together, they walked into the night, hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As Lauren embraced her feelings for Maxim, a darker reality lurked just beyond their fragile bubble of intimacy. The night air felt electric as they stood outside the cafe, the sounds of the city muffled by the pounding of her heart. She had never imagined she would be drawn into a world like this, a world that promised both passion and peril. But with every moment spent with Maxim, the danger felt more palpable. He had just revealed that a rival gang was watching her, and the weight of his words hung heavily between them. The thrill of their connection was now intertwined with real threats that loomed ominously. You're telling me that I'm in danger just because I've been talking to you, she asked, her voice shaky but resolute. Maxim's jaw tightened. It's not just talking, Lauren. You're connected to me now. It's more than just a casual relationship. You're a target because of who I am. His eyes were fierce, and for a fleeting moment she saw a flicker of vulnerability behind his fierce exterior. What do you mean? What do I have to do? She pressed, searching for clarity amidst the chaos of emotions swirling within her. He stepped closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a deep secret. You need to stay near me. I can protect you better if you're with me. I can't let anything happen to you. The intensity of his gaze sent shivers down her spine, igniting a mix of fear and longing within her. She swallowed hard, feeling overwhelmed but also exhilarated. What does staying with you look like? Maxim hesitated, the flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. I have a safe house nearby, a place where we can lay low until this blows over, but it means being away from everything you know. Lauren felt a surge of adrenaline. Okay. I'll do it. The words left her mouth before she could think them through, surprising even herself. But if I'm stepping into your world, I expect you to explain everything. His relief was palpable, but so was the gravity of what lay ahead. I promise, but we need to move quickly. They won't hesitate to act. As they hurried through the dimly lit streets, Lauren's mind raced. The vibrant city that had once felt like a safe haven now seemed shrouded in shadows. Every rustle of leaves or distant voice made her heart race. Yet, in the midst of the anxiety, her thoughts kept drifting back to Maxim. Beneath the tough exterior, there was a man who cared deeply, one whose world was filled with untold dangers. They reached a discreet building, and Maxim led her inside. The interior was stark but safe, a world far removed from the cafe's hustle and bustle. He glanced around, ensuring they were alone before he let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "You're safe here," he assured her, his voice dropping to a whisper. Lauren surveyed the space, feeling the walls close in around her. "What's going to happen next?" she asked, turning her gaze back to him. His intense presence filled the room, and she could feel a heat radiating from him. Maxim stepped closer, a determined look taking over his face. "We need to figure out a plan and understand where the threat is coming from. But first, I need you to understand something important." She nodded, her heart pounding. "What is it?" "You are my weakness, Lauren." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. "And in my world, weaknesses can be exploited. I can't lose you." Her breath caught in her throat at the raw emotion in his voice. A part of her wanted to pull away, to deny the depths of her feelings just as she had before, but she couldn't. The connection between them was undeniable. "But you're strong, Maxim. You can handle this," she encouraged, even as doubt crept into her mind. "I can handle a lot, but I can't handle losing you," he confessed, a flicker of desperation in his eyes. "That's why I'm asking you to stay close, to trust me. I promise to keep you safe." The urgency in his voice pierced through her fears, igniting a fire within her. Despite the growing danger, a part of her felt exhilarated by their predicament. Here she was, involved with a man who defied all her expectations, plunging headfirst into a world of thrilling uncertainty. "Okay," she said finally, her voice steadier than before. "I'll trust you, but we need to be ready for whatever comes next." Maxim's gaze softened, and in that moment she could see the strong facade beginning to crack just for her. The tension shifted, and she stepped closer to him, feeling their connection deepen. "We'll face it together," she vowed. He nodded, a flicker of pride in his eyes. "Together." As they prepared to confront the storm brewing outside, Lauren couldn't shake the feeling that the stakes were higher than ever. Yet she also felt a growing sense of empowerment. This wasn't just about being a victim of circumstance. This was about choosing to stand by his side, about choosing love amidst the chaos. If you're enjoying this story of passion and danger, don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling twists and turns. With their hearts pounding in unison, they braced themselves for the unfolding events. The echo of danger loomed outside, but within the walls of the safe house, a new chapter was beginning, one that would challenge them both and reshape their fates forever. After the dust settled from the confrontation, Lauren and Maxim found themselves at a crossroads. The adrenaline from the recent events coursed through their veins, their bond having been forged in fire, yet the reality of their worlds loomed large. The tension in the air was palpable as they stood in the quiet of the safe house, each wrestling with the weight of their choices. Maxim turned to Lauren, his intense gaze searching her face for any sign of doubt. "I want you to understand what this means," he began, his voice steady but laced with gravity. "You have a choice now. Walk away and return to the life you know, or step into my world, filled with danger and passion." Lauren took a moment to absorb his words. Her heart raced at the thought of leaving behind her ordinary life, filled with mundane routines at the cafe. But alongside that fear was a flutter of excitement about what could be. "What does stepping into your world look like?" she asked, her curiosity piqued, but also tinged with apprehension. Maxim moved closer, the heat from his body palpable in the dim light. "It means you'll need to be ready for anything. My life is unpredictable and I can't promise safety, but I can promise that you won't be alone." He paused, his expression softening. "You will be with me, and that's something I never thought I'd want." A thrill shot through Lauren at his confession. His vulnerability was a stark contrast to the fierce protector she had seen earlier. "If I choose this, I expect honesty. You have to tell me everything about your world, the dangers, and your past," she stated firmly, feeling a newfound strength within her. Maxim nodded, the respect in his eyes making her heart swell. "I promise I will, but it won't be easy. The Bratva is a complicated world, filled with layers of loyalty and betrayal. You will see the darkest sides of human nature, but also the depths of loyalty." Lauren took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his words settle over her. "I've faced challenges before. I know that life isn't just about safety, it's also about taking chances." He stepped back, allowing her a moment to process the magnitude of her decision. "You have to understand, Lauren, choosing to be with me means accepting the risks. Those around me don't always stay safe. There are enemies, and they won't hesitate to exploit our connection." A flicker of doubt crossed her mind, but the thought of returning to her old life felt like a prison. She didn't want to lose what they had built, however fragile it might be. "I'm willing to take that risk. I want to be by your side," she declared, her voice unwavering. The intensity of his gaze made her feel alive, stirring something deep inside her that she had never experienced before. Maxim's relief was palpable, and as he stepped forward again, he cupped her face in his strong hands. "You are my weakness, and that terrifies me, but it also makes me want to protect you fiercely." Lauren felt a rush of emotion at his admission. The idea of being his weakness was daunting, yet it also made her feel cherished. "Then let's navigate this together. I'll learn your world and you teach me how to be safe in it." His eyes softened, and in that moment, the barriers between them seemed to dissolve. "I never expected to feel this way about anyone, Lauren. You've turned my world upside down." She smiled, a warmth spreading through her at his words. "And you've challenged me to step outside my comfort zone. This is a partnership, Maxim. I won't be just a bystander. I'll be involved in whatever comes next." As they held each other's gaze, the reality of their connection solidified. The decision had been made, and there was no turning back now. It felt surreal, but also thrilling. With a newfound strength, she was ready to embrace the unknown, ready to face whatever came next together. With that commitment, Lauren felt the weight of the world lift off her shoulders. She had made her choice, and there was no fear in her heart. "Let's do this," she whispered, determination flooding her voice. Maxim leaned in closer, his breath warm against her skin, stirring a whirlwind of emotions within her. "Together, we will face everything that comes our way. You have no idea how much strength you've given me." As they stepped back, a sudden noise outside made them both freeze, hearts racing as they exchanged glances. The external world was still filled with danger, but they were ready to confront it side by side. "Whatever it is, we will handle it together," Lauren reassured him, instilling a sense of determination that pulsed through the room. "Exactly," he replied, a fierce light igniting in his eyes. "Now we just need to stay one step ahead." With the stakes higher than ever, Lauren felt an exhilarating rush of empowerment. She had chosen this life, chosen him, and with that choice came a sense of belonging she had never felt before. As they prepared to face the unfolding events, Lauren realized that she was not just a waitress anymore. She was a partner to a man who lived on the edge, and together, they would navigate whatever challenges lay ahead. If you're enjoying this story of passion and suspense, remember to subscribe for more thrilling twists and turns. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. They would face it together, hand in hand, ready to take on the world.